Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. Are you evaluating your career in real estate? Feel like you're ready for a fresh start? Or ready to take your career to the next level? This is your podcast. Welcome back to season 6. I can't believe we're already in season 6. We are calling this season Finding Your Superpower. And I am so excited to announce that I have a new co-host joining me today. You are going to love Alicia. And I'm going to do a quick little intro of Alicia, and then I'm going to let her introduce herself. So Alicia Soekawa is a good friend, has been an inspiration to me since the moment I met her. And I cannot speak highly enough of who she is as a human being. Incredibly generous, incredibly intelligent, funny, entertaining, as you're about to find out. All of the things, loyal, and an incredibly savvy and successful business person to boot. So what she's going to be bringing to the show is another level of resources, inspiration, ideas, a sounding board, all the things I think that we need to get season 6 off to a strong start and to help our audience members, as we're in kind of an interesting market right now. So we're going to talk about that. But I want to let Alicia introduce herself. She is the owner of a real estate brokerage called The Collaborative, not too far from me here in Maryland. She's in Virginia. And like me, she's a working mom, and her spouse is also in the business with her, also has 3 kids, just like me. And, we often share a lot of the same challenges. And what we found as we've been talking more is the challenges and the victories too that we are experiencing seem to be resonant among a lot of the real estate industry. So I think what you're going to find with Alicia is probably a lot more humor and fun storytelling than I've been giving to you. So that's really cool, but a fresh approach and new ideas that are going to make season 6 really enjoyable for everybody who is listening. So Alicia, thank you so much for being here and being part of the podcast.
Well, I'm really excited and I feel honored that you would allow me to be a part of it. I'm so impressed. It's really hard to keep a podcast going, and to be on season 6 is really impressive. So I feel really honored to be part of it and to kind of step in where I am to see what this journey is like. It's really cool to watch you grow in the podcast. So thank you for having me. And yes, I am in Virginia, south of you. I feel like where I live in Virginia is like a complete different world. It's not as hustle and bustle. We kind of are, we both sandwich the DC market basically. So I'm in central Virginia, which is a complete different market, different contracts. We happen to share a broker of record too. So we have some nice commonalities there. But yes, I always find it fascinating how sometimes you can attract or be pulled by the right people in your life at the right time if you're listening. That's something I think is to remind people to not listen, not forget that little voice that's in your head. Like, do I need to be near this person or away from someone? And to pay attention to that, especially in the business world. But I always say that when the student is ready, the teacher will come. Hence, it's kind of revolves itself, right? And I think there's a beautiful time right now. We're in a time of rebirth, renewal, new year. We're already now in February of 2024. This is an election year. There's going to be a lot of noise, I would say, a lot of turbulence. And I think it's important on people listening, your listeners now, and as you add more listeners on, what are you focusing on? What are you tuning out? Because it's true, what you focus on, you will learn to transform and grow. But if you focus on the wrong things, you will probably keep adding more wrong things to your life. So being a little bit more filtering, I think, is key. But I'm excited to be here. And yes, I'm a mother of 3. And I think that brings a different dynamic for those of you that are moms and dads in the business, and those of you that are working with your spouses in the business. It adds yet another variable, and experience is beautiful and sometimes can be chaotic and conflictive, I guess, or butting of the heads. But ultimately, if there's love there, and which there is in families and in relationships, I think beautiful things can grow from family brokerages. So I'm excited to share that with you and kind of bounce off ideas and hopefully help your audience maybe find their path and their way and their superpower.
Yeah, yeah, beautifully said. And one of the things that you made me think of when you were talking is made me think of a lot of things, but one is one of your superpowers, which I feel like is connecting people with each other. You're so good at that. And I've told you this before, but for the audience, I want you guys to think about too, how can you connect people with one another? Because I think that's one of the most generous things that we do as human beings is to help people build relationships, sometimes outside of the relationships that we have with them, that help them to learn and grow. And I think that also what you said about focus is so important. I think we're going to be talking a lot about focus and creating your own experience of both your career and sometimes of your own life, which we have total control over when we put our focus on the right things. So just a little kind of preview of what is to come this season. What I want to do today in this episode is let the audience get to know you a little bit more by asking you some questions. I'm going to put you in the interviewee's chair a
Oh,
little bit
I
here.
love it.
Good.
I like it. I have
Good.
answers for you.
All right, beautiful.
They might not be ones people want to know, but I have them.
Oh, they'll
I
want to know,
tell
I'm sure.
people.
And I think you'll find, a different level of relatability here too. We had our last season was learning from legends and success stories. So we had people who have done a ton. We've also done a ton, but this season's going to be a little bit more, I think, vulnerable, and I think show people behind the curtain a little bit in a way we haven't before. What goes into running a successful real estate business, being an entrepreneur, the ins and outs of it, and some of the nuanced pieces that I don't think we've gotten to share so far with you. So to that end, we were going to title this particular episode "What You Wish You Knew When You Started in Real Estate," and I'm so interested to find out from you, Alicia, what some of those things. So take us back for a minute to your origins in real estate. What first brought you into the business?
I have told this story before, and in all honesty, it was very serendipitous. It was not something calculated. My father actually was a realtor in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. He was basically, he had to take the test many times because he was really struggled in English, but there was really no Korean realtors in Richmond.
Mm.
And we're like 2 hours south of DC. So my mom, and I don't know who kind of told him, like, oh, you should be a realtor, then you would get all the Korean business. And so he did, and he was one of the first to get his license and get the business just by default because he could speak Korean. And he
Mm.
didn't do that for very long, because I don't think he was that great at it. I didn't know. I just knew that that's what he did. I mean, my dad did everything, like stores, whatever. But he eventually found his way into like insurance and doing different things, because he realized that's reoccurring commission. Whereas in real estate, once you're done with the deal, you move on to the next. There isn't like this reoccurring situation unless you're in property management. So that would be my first foray into real estate. Fast forward, I went through college, and I got a big corporate job, which was the whole plan. I was climbing the ladder. I worked in medical sales, like pharmaceutical medical sales. I was worked for a $1 billion biotech company called Amgen, which I did really well at, was there for 15 years almost, and kind of climbed my ladder doing different specialties and getting promotions, and got moved to Richmond. And an opportunity came where I just saw a lot of restructuring and like how corporations are doing now. We're seeing layoffs now. We're seeing the same environment. I made it through 2008 and 2009 beautifully. I managed to win trips, and I call it the golden handcuffs because it was a beautiful life I was able to have with them. And there really wasn't a reason to leave, except that I felt a longing, a yearning. And I always tell people, sometimes change isn't because there's like a lightning bolt of like, you must change. Sometimes it is. But for me, it was just a gradual being not happy with where I was in my life and what I wanted. And I didn't see anything changing. It was more like Groundhog Day over and over again. And
Mm.
I didn't seem happy or excited about what the next steps were. It was going to be us relocating a family, just always on the terms of what else someone else wanted. And that feeling of not owning your own destiny was very defeating for me as a person. And I just was like, what if? That's the best question. What if? What if this were to happen? What would my life be like? What if? What if? What if? And an opportunity came when they were doing layoffs. I was actually hopeful that I would be laid off, and I was not. And I was disappointed. And that kind of told me like maybe I need to make a move. I was actually probably depressed and didn't know it. I was sleeping a lot and not happy and just really unhappy, but holding it in.
Hmm.
And one thing I don't know for any of you listening that's working full time and doing this business part time and trying to figure out what is the key to do it or not, or you have a spouse not supporting you because you have the insurance. One of the best advices someone gave me is insurance is just money.
Mm,
Benefits is just money.
mm,
And employers do a really good job of twisting and turning it to make you believe there's this protection and this safety net of them holding you. But in a sense, it's like a jail you don't realize you're in.
mhm,
And so once I understood that I just needed to make a lump sum of money, it would cover all my expenses and then some, but I would have no ceiling to what I could make.
mm.
And this light bulb went off in me. And I was like, well, that would be kind of interesting. And I will never forget, I was taking a walk with my dogs and Michael, my husband at the time, and my younger ones were in school. They were literally like in grade school. Like one had just started kindergarten or going to start kindergarten. It was right at Labor Day. And I had found this in our HR, like a huge mega site. You think about billion-dollar HR companies. It was a hidden link inside that you could raise your hand to get a package because I didn't get picked. My friend that was a manager was like, hey, you can go in there and raise your hand. I was like, what? And I just did it and I went and threw up. I legit like went and threw up
My gosh.
and started freaking out. And then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. What have I done? Like, I didn't get approved yet. Right. So I just clicked it. I didn't say anything to anybody. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what it meant.
Mhm.
And Michael and I were walking and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I've done. He's like, well, you can, at worst case, you can get another job in this line of work because you have all this experience and track record, et cetera. And I was like, okay, that's back in your mind. There's a safety net. You can always do what you did, right? What's the difference? So we walked and he's like, why don't you just sell houses? I think you'd be great at that. And that was it. That was legit the level of thought I had about whether I was going to sell houses or not. I did not research. I was just like, okay. And then I went online. This is before, gosh, 20 July of 20, like June 2015. I think it was not even Google wasn't as what it is today. I even
Mhm.
feel like, right? It is, but it wasn't like how it is today.
Yeah.
So I went online, I found a class through Long and Foster, and I had a friend that her friend left a huge financial career. And I talked to him for a minute. And next thing I was sitting in class, taking the test. And next thing I know, they approved my package. And next thing I know, I didn't realize it wasn't that much money I was going to get. And I went for it. And I didn't realize looking back now what a risk I was taking. So
Mm.
sometimes that ignorance or excessive optimism of the dumb tax I spoke on is a good thing because it keeps you protected to
Yeah.
do the risk that you need to take. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Interesting. Okay. So let me ask you on this because we're doing the what you wish you knew now. In that journey, is there anything that you would say, I wish I knew this now?
I think that it happened and unfolded as it should exactly because had I not raised my hand to take the jump and I was trying to do that halfway, like you'll see a lot of people saying, I don't want to quit my job yet until I have enough.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been as successful as I have become because I was always hanging on to that little like
Life raft. Yep.
safety net. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a life vest. That was it.
Yep.
I wasn't allowed, like, when you learn how to swim, you need to take that off to learn
Mhm.
how to swim. You need to
Mhm.
feel the weight. You
Yep.
have to feel the fear. You have to feel the crying. You have to go through the heart-wrenching stuff that what owning a business is.
Yes. Yeah. So burn the bridges. That's kind of your advice is if you're going to do this, burn the
Burn
bridges.
that ship, burn the
Yep.
bridge. You're on
Yeah.
the island and you gotta build your fort and make your food and kill you
Yeah.
gotta do it. You gotta kill what you eat. And there's not anything more exhilarating to do that on your own and know you built it on your own than having to do it behind the tails of someone else. Because,
Hmm.
I did get dangled the whole like, you should join my team and you did do. And I was like, nope, nope, I'm good. I don't want to be on no team. I'm good because in my mind, I had just left the corporate
Hmm.
setup. I was
Hmm.
like, why do I want to join a team that they're going to put me in the same constraints I was just in? I left that
You just
for
want
a
to work
reason.
for someone else.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting because we often hear the exact opposite advice that the best
Mhm.
way to get a good start, like a leg up in real estate, is to join a team. But that was not your experience.
For myself, knowing who I am, I did not want to go that path. because I think my background's different and unique in the sense of I ran a business within a business.
Yeah.
So I had a $50 million product basket and I ran the whole state of Virginia. And I
Mm.
had to influence without influence. I had to work with doctors and PhDs and work into formulary, the things I needed to do, the nuances I had, managing budgets, doing business plans, understanding P&Ls, having
Mhm.
management, middle managers, and answering and doing presentations and panel stuff. And um, I knew a lot of things about business and I understood about business. I ran my business as a business from day one. I never went into this business as this is my job. I went into this business as this is my business. And
Okay.
very often you'll see realtors and you'll even hear them say it, oh, this is my job. This
Right.
is my job.
Right.
A job is when you work for someone else,
Mm-hmm. Yep. A
right?
job is
And
when you
not
work for someone
right.
else. And then some people say it's their career.
Mhm.
And I think the most successful people, this is like their calling. And it
Yes.
feels like to me, this was your calling. And you heard that when Michael
Yes.
articulated it. And
Yes.
by the way, Michael is still your husband because you, just to clarify for the audience, because you was like, my husband, you said my husband at the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, at the time, my husband,
Yes.
well,
Just
maybe
clarifying.
it would
He's
not be
still
my
your
husband if we had kept going the path we had. That's a whole nother podcast.
husband.
So
Yes. We'll get there at some point. But yes, so I think for you, you heard that like there was something in there that spoke to you, and you're like, yes, that's the thing. I'm going to burn that ship. I'm going all in on this. And not only that, I know in myself that I have the confidence to do this solo. And not only that, I have to do it solo in order for this really to be the thing that's mine and that's my business.
absolutely. So that's the key word is I wanted something of my own. I
Yeah.
didn't want to be under someone because I actually spoke to a couple of people, lovely people. I just didn't like the way they wanted me to do things, to be honest with you. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew my personality well enough to know that I wasn't going to be doing well under someone telling me what to do.
So, for people who are listening right now, and maybe they are solo agents and they're going, yeah, I thought I was going to get into this solo. I haven't hit my goals solo, or I don't feel like I'm getting what I need solo. Or people who are getting into the business and have had in their minds, the team is the way to go. How
Mhm.
can somebody evaluate what the right path for them is, do you think?
I think you have to figure out why you're doing it, number one. Is it a financial thing? Is it because so often I know you hear this and anybody else that's in this podcast or real estate world, what's your split? What's your split? How much you gonna what are you gonna take from me
Mhm.
versus what value are you going to give me?
Beautiful
Right.
question.
So
Yes.
that's a question instead of saying, what are you going to take from me? You got to say, what are you going to add to me that's going to multiply mine like a compound interest
Mhm.
or that amount that I'm paying you does insignificant because the value is so much more.
Yes. And what I often see with the solo agents is they are paying very little and get a
Mhm.
huge split, but getting absolutely no value in return. So
Correct.
I love the way that you're positioning this as something to think about in terms of value you're getting back.
Yeah. And I think that's huge because we're both coaches and we're both also coached.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And so when you get to wear the hat both ways and take it off and be a client and then put the hat on as a coach, you understand the nuances of what you bring to the table for that coachee. Just like I understand the nuances that my coach brings to me when I'm sitting in front of her and I'm saying, I don't know what I don't know. And
Right.
so you don't know what you don't know. So how are you going to do something you don't know? But yet you don't want to pay for what you don't know. So you're going to learn the hard way, the dumb tax way, and write a check. So you
Mm-hmm.
may not think you're writing a check in a split wise, but you're going to write that check in the ways of not making the money you say you want to make because you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then I want to go back to what you said about insurance is only money. It made me think about something that we say
Mhm.
often in our mastermind group together, which is
Yeah,
that money is energy, right? And it
absolutely.
felt to me in the
Absolutely.
story that you told like there was a cap on that energy
Mhm.
because of the way that you were thinking about it almost as like this is a benefit that you were handcuffed to use your term, the golden handcuffs. And when that mindset evaporated, suddenly the cap was gone and you saw that the energy, which is the money, could come back to you. You could create it at any amount that you wanted to, because all of a sudden the power was yours to do that.
Yes, and I think that goes with everything else in our business. I think when you're a business owner, you look at spending money as like that's a write-off, right?
Mm-mm.
And I think people get really worked up on spending, but if you're going to write $100,000 to Uncle Sam, or you're going to write $100,000 to yourself to add equipment to your facility, or get the car you want because it weighs a certain amount of poundage, understanding the nuances that the tax code was written for business owners
Mm-hmm.
in
Yep.
this world,
Yep.
not for employees. And that, once I realized like, ooh, I don't have to be limited, because like what happens when you look at your paycheck and the taxes are taken out, right?
Yeah.
You are left with a fraction, and you are now within this constraint of I can only operate within this little pie. The pie, this is all I get.
Mm-hmm.
Versus in our world, you can make the pie bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if the
Absolutely.
pie's bigger, then you get to decide what pieces of the pie go where. But if you all you have is this little mini pie that you can't make any bigger, and you're still working the same amount of time, what is the point? And
Right.
then, oh, by the way, you don't have a job next week. Good luck.
Yeah. You're the one making the pie rather than standing in line to get a
Yeah,
little slice of it to bake for a little
yeah.
slice of it. Yeah, exactly. Wow, such good stuff already. Okay, so you jump in, you burn the ships, you are taking your class, and then how do you take the next step to actually start to build a business?
It was a really I think I did not have the true understanding of what it meant that I was doing. Again, I was blinded by I was so excited. I was like, I'm so excited versus like, what have I done?
Right.
So I just went for it. And everyone around me is like, you're stupid. Like I felt like they were like, I was like, what's wrong with them? It kind of reminded me of that movie Shallow Hal, when he was like Gwyneth Paltrow was like gorgeous and everyone else saw her that she was like 500 pounds, and he
Right.
like, she looks like a supermodel. I felt like I was him, like I was like hypnotized that everything was going to be great. Like it was really funny actually, because I think my broker was like, I think she's on drugs or something. Cause I was like, it's gonna be fine. And he's like, and I think I defied a lot of things because he kept telling me, oh, we don't get sign calls. We don't get call office call-ins. So I wouldn't worry about it. And I got one of those.
Hmm.
You're probably not going to be able to get a for sale by owner to work with you. And I got one of those. Expireds aren't worth it. And I got one of those. I wouldn't, he kept like telling me all the reasons why certain things weren't going to happen. And I kept proving him wrong. And every time I would go like, hey, David, guess what I did? He was like, I already know. But I think I just kept like, and it wasn't like roses all the time. Let me tell you, I had a lot of crazy stuff. Like I had to go get a TB shot because I sliced my leg open at a walkthrough because someone had left a knife in the yard. Like
What?
weird stuff like that. I lost one of my most expensive pair of shoes because I didn't think about walking through construction zone, and my shoe got sucked into the
Mhm.
mud, never to be seen again.
There's
Like,
a good something I wish that I had known then. Don't wear your most expensive shoes
yeah,
to a
don't wear anything expensive. Keep the water shoes in your thing. Keep toilet
yeah.
paper. Keep all the things. Keep
A
don't
flashlight.
ever. I've locked my phone in houses. I've had to climb fences. I've had cats attack me. I've had like I've walked in on homeless people. I've had needles falling out. I mean, just the craziest things where you're just like, am I gonna die today? Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Um,
But you went in with confidence
Yeah,
regardless.
I knew. I
So,
was like, I think what it is when you burn the ship or when you make a decision. Okay, so whatever you decide, whether real estate, mortgage, whatever, whoever's listening, when you make a decision and you're in, there isn't like you can't keep checking.
mm,
You got to just go.
yeah, yeah.
And so I think it's the concept of if you're constantly like pausing and checking,
Mhm.
it's going to derail you, because sometimes it's like that saying where you're like, don't think about it before you negotiate with yourself. So
Yeah.
you'll start negotiating with yourself. Well, maybe I don't need to
Yeah.
make that phone call. No, just make the phone call.
Just
Knock on
taking
the
action.
door.
Yeah.
Just keep taking action towards
Yeah.
the goal you want. So I had a goal my first year was I wanted to be rookie of the year for Long and Foster for the whole Virginia, that whole region, which is a really
Hmm.
big region.
Yes.
And I asked my broker at the time, what is the most that a rookie has ever sold? I wanted to know what that number was. So I was determined to beat the number.
Wow.
And I did. And
Yes.
I did. I beat it. I won. And was like, I kept checking in, I kept checking in. So I had an outcome, a result I was
Mhm.
looking at,
Yeah.
and it was something tangible. And I kept going and I kept going. And I was like, I just, it's a double-edged sword because sometimes it's never enough. But that got me through that first year. Like that was something in my mind I needed. And then I could tell myself, I'm going to make it. I
Yeah.
can do this.
Yeah.
Right? I can do this.
So
But
you had that to prove to yourself.
yes.
And it seems to me that when your broker was saying you can't do something, you're like, I can do this. And you went and just did the thing by
Hmm.
taking action.
Hmm.
How important do you think that is as a character trait for someone who wants to be in this business? To be like, I'm shooting for the moon, or you tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna do it. Do you think that's important?
I don't think it's a deciding factor of whether you'll be successful or not, because there are
Okay.
certainly people that do this business that don't do that
Yeah.
and very well. They
Yeah.
follow the rules, they do very well. They may just grow at a different pace.
Okay.
I think you have to know yourself as a human being and what are the goals you want and what is the outcome you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So like every person goes into this differently. Like you want to just go into this and you just need to make a little bit of money to support and you need something for yourself. Like I just met my friend and she's a stay-at-home mom and she's like, I just need something for me, you know? But her
Mm-hmm.
husband supports her family. So,
Mm-hmm.
she just wanted it for her. So that's a different motivator than someone that, like myself, I was the sole breadwinner. We had special needs children. We had, like, I felt responsible that I took the risk and risked our whole family for me to pursue this.
Yeah.
And how dare I not shoot for the stars? You see what I'm saying? So it's a
Yeah.
very different
Yeah.
measuring. So it depends on whoever's listening. You have to look at yourself honestly and decide who are you in this journey and what is it that you want for yourself, not because someone else tells you what do you want.
Yes. So you just said two things I think are really important and almost in the same phrase, two different things, I think, but that work together. One is who are you in this journey? How do you
Yes.
identify yourself? And
Yes.
two is what do you want?
Yes.
Those two things have to be congruent, right? Because you
Yes.
can't want something and be a person who can't get it. So what do you want and who do you need to be to
To
get
get
what you
what you want,
want, right?
because otherwise you're betraying yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you
Mm-hmm.
betray yourself, like if you say you want something and the behavior's over here, I
Yeah.
think Tom Ferry says that a lot, right? He
Yes.
said your actions are over here, but you say that you want this.
Yes.
It's never gonna align.
Right.
So if
Right.
you really want this, then you need to get your actions to match it.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
there is. It's
Yeah.
actually more simple than we realize, but we sit there and try to negotiate and convince ourselves and convince everyone else around us
Yeah.
and get consensus. Like, have you noticed that when people have to ask five people the same question
Mm-hmm.
to get the consensus until they hear what they want to hear, when they
Yeah.
already knew what they wanted to begin with?
Right. 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 Exactly. Exactly. It's like when you flip a coin and you're like, oh, let me flip it again. Let me flip it again.
Yes.
I want heads or tails or
So
whatever.
just do the thing you want to do. So Michael says that a lot. He said, you're going to do what you want to do anyway. So why are you asking?
Right.
That's a really like
That's a good one.
job. So just
Yes.
go do it. You don't need permission from anybody else.
Okay, so that seems like something you wish you knew back then that you don't need permission from anybody else.
Yeah.
Get to
It's,
do
yeah.
what you want to do. All right, what else would you say? And we'll go more as we go through these shows into your history and how you've gotten where you are in terms of your success and being a coach for Tom Ferry and all of that good stuff. And now she also is a member of the Speakers Bureau, so you're actually taking public paid speaking engagements as well, which is a whole other level
That's a
of being
whole
able
nother
to share.
crazy journey.
Yeah, well, you're here with me, so
Yeah.
thank you for being part of this. What would you say, like two or three of the other top things that come to mind when you think, man, I wish I'd known that when I was starting out?
I would say open up your business account right away and separate church and state, business, personal,
Talk more about
immediately
that.
day one. I kind of just went into it like depositing my checks into my checking account because I kept thinking to myself, well, if this works out, then I'll set up something next year.
Mm,
Right. Because I didn't want to like in my mind set this whole thing up and then it not be a thing.
mm,
And then I have to dismantle it. So part of it
okay.
was my own imposter syndrome of, yes, I was behaving. That I was doing all the things, but money side wise, I was behaving
Mm,
like an employee still and not a business owner.
so interesting. Yeah.
Right. Because I didn't know, I think because I didn't know what to do and how to do it. So it scared me. And it
Yeah.
was an area that I wasn't comfortable or versed in. And I didn't even know who would I talk to about making this
Mhm.
happen. And
Yep.
the majority of agents, that's how they do it. They mix everything. And so then when it comes time to taxes, they're trying to pull everything apart and fix everything apart and figure things out.
Mhm.
And it's very difficult. So you end up spending so much time doing that and risking it not being accurate because you didn't keep it separate to begin with.
And we'll talk more about the financial nuances of this business and being an entrepreneur in other
Mhm.
episodes as well. This is just giving you a little taste of
Yes.
this. Um,
That's number one,
oh,
setting that up,
okay.
setting your business up as a business in the legal, the financial, as well as behavioral aspects and schedule
Yeah.
aspects.
Yeah. And for people who, because I know there are people out there right now, entrepreneurs or agents who are established and have not done any of that yet. They're still,
Mhm.
they don't have any kind of an entity set up. They're still mixing
Nope.
funds. What's the best way for somebody to learn how to do that, do you think?
I think, first of all, ask other agents that have things set up who they're using to advise them, number one, and interview at least three, because you need to be able to feel comfortable with whoever's advising you to have a conversation. There needs to be a likeness or like-mindedness, I think. If you have someone
Mhm.
that you make it feels like you're talking to your parents and they're scolding you, that's
Mm,
not going to work. You're not going to be able to be
yeah,
vulnerable and honest with that person advising you. You
right.
also have to think about longevity. Is this person going to fall over into the grave next week? They may be great, but are they going to be there at the longevity of your career? Who's going to inherit your business? Something to
True.
think about. Like, who's going to inherit their pet? That actually happened to a friend of mine that's an agent. Her CPA died.
Oh my gosh.
And then the firm took everything over and she's not really happy with how they're handling it,
Mm,
So it's weird stuff that you're not even thinking about, but like you have to
right.
be really thoughtful about, this is everything you've worked so hard to put together.
Yeah.
Who is handling that money and who is advising you is not to be taken lightly, is what I'm saying.
Good advice. Yeah. All right. What's another one that you wish you knew?
I think one of the things I wish I'd known is to go harder into the people that knew, like, and trusted me to begin with. I
Hmm.
did follow that pattern. It kind of evolved on its own and I kind of developed it, but I wish I had really honed in and focused hard on that from day one instead of, I wanted to dabble here. I wanted to try everything out because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Mm,
But that would have been a piece of guidance. I think if someone had just told me day one, just focus on that 100%, get
mhm.
that down pat, and then go further out from there
Okay. Okay.
versus like touching everything and then finding your way in. Does that
All
make sense?
right. Yeah. Again, it's about focus, right? And
Yes,
what you're
yes,
gonna
yes.
be able to build on. Okay. And give us one more before we wrap this episode today.
I would say be very mindful about your time and intention because I think there's a lot of time, a lot of people will try to suck your time. You don't even realize it's
Mm,
happening because you haven't set the intention of what is our intention for this meeting, right? I think there's people that say that before we sit down and make sure that what is it that you're trying to accomplish for a meeting, not just allowing it to, because you'll be there for 4 hours for nothing.
I love that. And as a way to just kind of approach anything that we're involved in, what's
Hmm.
the desired outcome, right? So I think about you can apply that to a lunch that you're
Yeah,
having with a friend. What's the
yeah,
outcome? Is it to build the relationship? Is it
yeah.
to ask for a
Reconnect, right?
support? Is it right?
Yeah,
What's the outcome for an event, a training event or a seminar that you're going through? Too, because that's going to also help you focus on the things that you most need to get out of those events. And I agree with you. So many times we get people who really, in our coaching clientele, for example, who get a ton of new ideas. And as agents, many of us are exposed to lots of ideas, the shiny objects all the time. And if we can use that, what's the outcome that we're looking for as a filter for what grabs our
yes,
attention, we
yes.
get traction in a way that we wouldn't otherwise. Great, great,
And,
great.
and in that intention, because I say that your schedule and that is to make sure to carve out the time for yourself.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So important. Okay. Wow. All right. This went fast. I knew it would. We actually have gone over just a little bit, but that's okay. But this is just the tip of the iceberg for what you're going to get from Alicia and from me this season. As you're going to see, it is going to be a mix of practical, tactical advice, things like mindset and energy that you can work with to help get you wherever you want to go in your career and your life. I think that's what you're going to
Yeah.
find too, is that the value you're going to receive is very different. This was a recent Tony Robbins quote from an event that we attended. He said, achievement without fulfillment is the greatest failure.
Mhm.
And that hit me so hard. So what
Yeah.
we want to do is make sure that what we're giving you this season is the ability to find what's right for you so that you achieve the fulfillment that you deserve in your life as you achieve all of the rewards that come along with doing the right things and being a wonderful human being along the way. So we will continue this conversation. And for those who are interested in finding more, we mentioned we're both coaches, and a couple of the things, actually everything I think that you shared that you wish you had known are things that I think our coaches and us as
Yes.
coaches
Yes.
help the new agents and even agents who have been established for a while get exposed to in a way that, helps them really kickstart or level up in a way that they couldn't otherwise. So feel free to ask us any questions about coaching too. It's been transformative in both of our lives, and it's now allowing us to give back as this podcast is as well. So Alicia, thank you so much for kicking off our season. This has been an amazing
I'm
episode.
excited.
The
Yeah.
next one will be even more fun. So audience, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in episode 2.
All right. Bye.
We are so grateful you have joined us today. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe to our show or share it with people that you think would benefit. And please remember to leave us a review or rating on the platform on which you are listening.
And if you've got questions about Tom Ferry coaching, have the both of us here, please contact us directly. We would love to answer your questions, or if you're just curious, we'd love to have a conversation. You can reach us at any of our social media outlets or shoot us a direct message.